I was going to come out here and try to do a normal preview like this is a normal week, and it just didn't feel right? Like this week is about much more than matchups and who has the advantages in certain areas. Like, of course, those things are important as they are in every football game, but we know what the narrative is of this season. We know what the narrative is of this game, and we know that this game has a lot more resting on it than just what's on surface level. So this week, I'm going to talk about this game just a little bit differently. Please allow me that free room to do so. So I was thinking about this game, and I think that this is probably the biggest game, or the second biggest. I think the playoff game obviously takes precedent, but the second biggest game in the entire Baker Mayfield era, just because I think this week is pivotal. This is either going to be the ball's going to pivot in one direction with what the future is with number 6 and Kevin Stefanski, or it's going to tip in the other direction. Because let's be honest, this last week has been a week of absolute turmoil, a meltdown that has been on a national stage and has started a national conversation. I mean, this has been a week of so many hot takes that I can't even keep track of them one way or the other, right? Either we're kind of throwing out everything else that happened before Odell got his daddy on this whole situation and just writing off Odell's frustrations as being a diva when those frustrations were very real. Or we're just calling Baker a bum and saying that's the reason he wants to get out there when it's really a more complex situation than that. But the reality of this week is the quarterback of this team, his competency has been questioned nationally. Every single coordinator on this team, offensive, and obviously we have been questioning defensive coordinator for quite a while here, even when it's not warranted. But all the coordinators, offensive coordinator, AVP, Joe Woods, they have been questioned for their competency. The head coach, Kevin Stefanski, who won Coach of the Year last year, his competency has been questioned. The culture of this locker room has that question. The heart of this team has been questioned. There are a ton of questions that aren't necessarily X's and O's wise and football wise that need to be answered on Sunday. And let me be clear here. These questions that are being asked, they're not just because Odell is trying to force his way out. That's not the only reason these questions have been asked, because for 7 weeks and a quarter, this offense has stunk. It's been asleep. It's been sluggish. Even when you score 40 points, you miss 5 other opportunities. I mean, I pointed out in that Chargers game, they missed out on 11 points when they scored 42. Now, that could be a good sign, or it can be a sign of you missing a ton of opportunities in football games. But the fact of the matter is because this offense has been asleep for 7 weeks and a quarter, because this offense has not lived up to expectations, we are in this situation. And there's not a single player on the offense that can say that they're living up to expectations. And because of that, this team has their back against the wall in November. This is a team with Nick Chubb, with Kareem Hunt, with supposedly the best offensive line in football, with supposedly, in my opinion, I thought, a top 12 quarterback, with supposedly great wide receivers, great tight ends, a good defense, and we're 4-4 with our back against the wall in November. This is a team that everybody assumed would be destined for greatness in January, and we're talking about the back being against the wall in November. Something went wrong. What went wrong? Offense. Everybody on the offense. Not a single player has lived up to expectations. You cannot tell me Nick Chubb has lived up to the lofty expectations of Nick Chubb, because Derrick Henry just went out and nobody's talking about Nick Chubb being the best running back in football, because he's not right now. He ain't lived up to expectations. Kareem Hunt, he's been injured. There's a reason he hasn't, but even when he's been out there, he's been good, but still not living up to the lofty expectations that we have for this team. Offensive line, nothing has to be said there about how they haven't lived up to expectations. Baker Mayfield, don't really even got to explain that one, do I? Odell Beckham, obviously, that one hasn't lived up to expectations because he ain't even on the team anymore. And then when we talk about Jarvis Landry, everybody else, I mean, Jarvis with the drops, that's not living up to expectations. Donovan Peoples-Jones, what we thought of him coming out of camp, not living up to expectations. What everybody thought of Rashard Higgins, not living up to expectations. David Njoku has kind of lived up to expectations, but we didn't think he was a major player in this offense until about week 4. And then Austin Hooper ain't lived up to expectations in 2 years. Nobody on this offense, whether you're Team Baker or Team Odell, in this ridiculous civil war of Browns fans going on between the stinking of this offense, you cannot tell me a single soul has been living up to expectations. So that's what's been killing this team. That's why this team is 4-4. We can yell about Joe Woods and the defense all we want, but the truth of the matter is that the defense wasn't supposed to be the best unit on this team. It was supposed to be the offense, and the offense has completely let this team down. And now we're at this point where there's all this turmoil, conversation, and again, a team that was destined for January greatness could fall under 500 in the month of November. What a disappointment. What a massive disappointment. This is not a team that should be anywhere near that level of disappointment, given what they have had. The coaching staff, the quarterback, the offense, the defense. It doesn't make sense that we're at this point. And the only way it does make sense is if you evaluate or reevaluate if we really found the answers to some of the questions we've been asking for 20 years, right? We have been asking ourselves for 20 years, when are we going to get a quarterback? And damn it, last year we thought we found it. We really did. He played that well. Like, I think people forget how well Baker played at the end of last season, but he played that damn good that we thought that 20-year question, throw that out the window. We ain't asking that no more. Give him an extension. Kevin Stefanski, we thought he did so good last year that we don't have to ask that question anymore. Same with Andrew Berry, but now all these questions are starting to come up for relitigation because the offense has looked like garbage. That's Kevin Stefanski. That's Baker Mayfield. Baker ain't looked like the dude he was the last 4 weeks of the year last year. What's up with that? We have all of these questions that we thought we answered. They're back up for relitigation, and they're back up starting this game against the Bengals. Look, the Bengals are a great team. The Bengals are a great offense, and they're a pretty damn good defense. They play really well together. They don't have a bunch of star players. Jesse Bates is a star, but other than that, it's a bunch of guys who are really just playing good football. They are doing everything that the Cleveland Browns aren't. Despite the Browns' talent, they're not executing well. But despite the Bengals' lack of big-name talent, they are executing well. They're playing well. And they're going to come in and play well and try to redeem a bad performance against the Jets this week. So we don't have to say much about them. They're a good football team. They're going to come in at home and they're going to play well. The question really is, are the Cleveland Browns going to show up? Are they going to let this stuff consume them? Is this going to be another come get me moment? Is it going to be another Arizona Cardinals game? You could pick 2018 or 2021, whichever one you want. Well, not 2018, 2019 or 2021, whichever embarrassing Cardinals game you want to pick, you can choose it. It's the same situation. Is it going to be one of those? Or is this going to be a game much like the Bengals game last year where this team rallied together and made something out of this season? And I really do want to reiterate this point as much as possible so it's clear what I'm saying here. The situation the Browns find themselves, the turmoil, the national controversy and joke that this team has become at this point is not because of Odell Beckham by itself. It's not because of Baker Mayfield by itself. This has been stewing because this team, especially on offense, has not been executing from the head coach to the offensive coordinator, to the quarterback, to the offensive line, to all the wide receivers, and to the running backs. Not a single soul that calls themselves a Cleveland Browns or a major player on the Cleveland Browns offense is exempt from that. They have all sold this, they have all made this bed, and now they have to sleep in it. This is what they have sold throughout the last 7 weeks. Not a single soul is innocent for where they're at right now. They deserve all of it. So, what do you do now? Going into this week, what do you do now? Obviously, you want to win because you need to win and you're desperate to win. And this season kind of depends on you winning if you still want to have a relatively comfortable role or way into the playoffs. Yeah, you obviously need to win. And that's why I kind of wanted to do a normal preview because, yeah, this is a very important game for the Cleveland Browns. But it ain't that simple. The questions that need to be answered, the Bengals defense don't got much to do with that. That has a lot to do with the Cleveland Browns offense and what they haven't looked like for the last 7 weeks. It's been about that. So for the Browns, this week is about execution. Will you finally execute smoothly? Will you finally execute in the red zone? Will the play calling match up with what the urgency on the field needs to be? Well, a lot of these questions, a lot of the sluggishness, a lot of the poor effort on offense, a lot of the not punching people in the mouth in the run game, will that be answered this week? Will you play like a team that has something to prove, or will you play like a team that's ready to melt down and explode in front of everybody? Because again, for 1 o'clock purposes, this is the national game. It's going to have Romo, Nance, everybody on there. So what do you want to do? Do you want to win or do you want to melt down? Do you want to actually live up to your potential, or do you want to kick and scream and talk about how certain things aren't going perfect? So that's the excuse you want to make about why you couldn't win with an excellent roster this year. What do you want to do? Do we want to find out about our head coach and if he can manage turmoil in the locker room, if he can manage a season, if he can manage a play call sheet, if he can manage all of these things that he's going to have to manage if he wants to be the head coach for the Cleveland Browns for years to come? Same thing for the quarterback. Is he ready? Is he ready to take on this extra responsibility, this extra stress, and take on all this criticism that he has been getting and then play well on top of that? Is he ready for that? Is he the guy? We'll find out. We will find out, because that's what's at question. This team's heart, this team's locker room culture, and there are open questions now about the quarterback and the head coach for the rest of the year. We'll find out about these dudes. But let me know what you think of this game down in the comment section below. Again, I'm sorry I couldn't do the straight up preview. I know this is a really big game, but I just didn't feel like what needed to be addressed with this team was about X's and O's. It's more or less about everything else going on with the team, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens. We'll see how this team responds, and we'll see what kind of leadership that this locker room has, because that's what Sunday is going to be about, how they come out, how they attack, how they handle this thing. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I want you guys to have a great day. Have a good night.